was cool as a cucumber no matter what, and he really had a sense of story.
Especially with that hard job. I mean, that was intense.
It
It
was
was like 12
something.
cameras.
Yeah, I don't think they were all main cameras, but I think it was probably 4 main cameras as well as specialties and whatnot. But I use electrosonics because that's what I was rocking at the time. And you come into a job like that, and you're basically inventing the setup,
Yeah.
and you never know how it's going to be till you get there.
Yep.
And so once
Exactly.
you put boots on the ground, then you can really assess the situation. Now, I feel I did a great job of kind of setting Justin and his vision for capturing story on that pretty well. But for the viewers, what we have here is you have guys that are rappelling off of the side of mountains and using pry bars and hammers and sledgehammers.
It's like a crowbar that's like 6 feet long.
It's
huge.
amazing.
It's
It's
thick.
amazing. And these guys are prying out wood. I mean, not wood, rock, and probably any kind of growth that's happening in between the rock that's splitting it. And so they're trying to make things safe below.
Yeah, they're literally causing avalanches when
to
it's
avoid
a
them later.
controlled environment.
It's a controlled environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have nobody below you.
Yeah, so they would have to stop cars for sometimes an hour or two, and they'd be like, we have this 10-ton rock, and if we don't move it, it could fall at any time.
Right.
And God, did they do the demonstration with you of like what the actual damage of the rocks does? On the very, very last day of shooting, they went and they just got this beat-up clunker, like a red Escort car or something, and they had a bulldozer, and they brought it up maybe 50 feet up on a mountain right next to it. And they just shot Justin going, this is a 5-pound rock. And he threw it, and, it makes the crack on the windshield. Then he picks up a 20-pound rock and throws that. Then they had the bulldozer do a 200-pound rock. Engine was gone.
Yeah.
And then they did a 2-ton rock, and the car was just incinerated. It didn't exist anymore. And they're like, if this was a family, they wouldn't even be able to pick them up off of the ground.
You might not be able to identify the bodies.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, that rock went to the ground. It was crazy. So
Can't fight gravity, sir.
no, you can't. You can't.
Yeah,
I remember you telling me that with electros you were having some issues near Niagara, and I'm assuming it's probably because of the water and the RF that's around there.
Probably that, and we're also the Canadians have different frequencies that they operate in as well. So I would imagine that's probably a big part of it. But all the rock I found when I do shoots in very mountainous ranges that may have heavier metals, especially ferrous metals, sometimes you'll get slapback. And so I did a show up in Santa Clarita some time back called Doing Da Vinci, and between walkie interference in my VR field that I had strapped to a 788T, and the bowl that we were doing all these weapons tests in, and there was radar in this compound. There's wireless can get a little tricky, and I knew when I couldn't do the second half of Rockstars, I was like, I know a guy who's got a grip of Zaxcoms, and I think that will be very beneficial to what Justin was trying to do. I don't feel like we really lost much audio in the first part of it. I just knew that with that backup, it would certainly alleviate any stress. I had another guy doing audio for me. I had him set up with like a 744T at the time. I mean, this was 2010-ish.
I think it was even earlier than that.
Was it earlier?
I think it was earlier than that.
So I mean, we didn't have all of the fantastic
Toys.
little toys that we have now. But
Yeah, we still had all the single receivers in our bags. And stuff. It was heavy.
Yeah. I was running around with 7 411s
Yep.
and a 788T in a bag. I remember I had my CL8 stop working on that thing, so I was just basically recording good ISOs and making sure that everything was good because I couldn't even send it to camera. There was so much moisture,
Oh yeah, where you were, Jesus.
Yeah. There was a lot of blow by from the falls and all that kind of stuff. But like I was saying earlier, I got the benefit. They sent us to a week training of rope access training.
Oh, interesting.
And that was cool.
I didn't get that training.
Yeah, we got paid to go learn all of those things and get a rope access certificate and card. And
That's really
I really
cool.
wish I had time to keep that up because that was really fun. That was really
Yeah.
fun. And it teaches you how to be safe working with lines and getting yourself into some really kind of crazy places. Um,
I'll tell you though, the Zaxcoms on that job did work well. I was able to, because of the fact that they were construction workers and they had their helmets on 100% of the time.
mhm,
I found ways to mount them in the helmets,
mhm.
and the Zaxcoms have compressors built into them.
Right.
So I was able to basically have the compressors help to kind of squash everything. Because, I mean, you know how they were. They're like yelling, "Hey, Billy," like 400 feet away to
Yeah,
their
and then they
friend.
talk kind of low to themselves,
And then
and
they tell, yeah,
the
talking
dynamic
quiet to
range
the.
is just
It's
wide.
all over the place.
Yeah.
So I had to squash it before it even got to me.
Right.
So that was definitely helping. Um, obviously we were in the middle of Washington, so there was nothing. So I was getting probably around 1,400 feet of range.
Mhm.
And the way that ours was set
And
up
that
is
was
that
way before the new
that
Zaxcoms.
was
This
with the
was
standard
the early
modulation.
silver
Yeah.
yeah, and they were 50 milliwatt
Yep.
transmitters.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I was very happy these
Yeah,
days.
sure,
Very happy
sure.
these days because usually I would be sweating when I needed to have that type of reach, and I wasn't using whip antenna. I was using whip antennas. I wasn't using bat wings.
Right. Right.
I started to though. One of the fun things that I ended up doing was ours. There was an expressway or freeway, I guess, depending on
Right.
where you're
Right.
from, that was driving through. And there were two mountains on each side of the road. So they were working on like the side of the road that you were at. So what I did, I lucked out. I made what was called the sky bar. We literally labeled it the sky bar. So I went up the other mountain that was about maybe 200 feet higher than them. So I was above
You
them
can be
with the
above them.
RF. And we set up this blue tarp. So we had a canopy when it rained. We didn't have to wear our coats. And I even stopped wearing my headphones for some of it because I was just listening to ISOs because I had to have so many recording. I had a Diva 16 in my bag
Right.
at the time. So I just had a speaker system right there and I would just keep flipping through the ISOs.
PFL, everything.
Yeah, PFLing and just listening to each things and making sure that everything was always timecode synced. The problem I had was I had the TRX 900s that had the CR123 batteries.
That seems problematic to me.
Yeah,
Just
it
as
was rough.
so, there's a few products on the market right now, and
Yeah.
I got to test the Tentacle stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the size. I'm sure will make every DP and camera operator super
Blown
happy.
away, yeah.
The problem is the battery's inside of it, and you have to recharge it.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's like, "Oh, it'll last, 10 hours or something." Okay, well, I can't guarantee that to a producer because when it doesn't, they won't want to hear why.
Yeah,
One second.
exactly.
Let me blow my nose here.
Oh, yeah. We'll cut away from the nose blowing. Holla. Guys, thank you for joining us. If you're live with us, this is a Mantis discussion. I'm here with Jack Sparks. He has a little bit of a cold, but he's still just gunned in and said, "Hey, I'm here today. You need a guy. You need a guy." So I
Well,
want to thank you for being here.
You can't really call in sick just because you have a cold.
No.
Being a sound guy, obviously
No.
it sucks. And you don't obviously want to contaminate your own audio that you're trying to, you can shush a producer, and which I do, but
Yeah.
don't do that. They hate that.
They don't like being shushed.
I still do it, but I'm just a rebel.
Yep. They're like, "You're paying me to
Yeah.
tell you to shut up."
Where were we?
I don't know.
No, I tested the Tentacle, and that was really cool because the size was really small. Unfortunately, like your situation with the 123 batteries, you can't get 123 batteries too often in
Exactly.
crazy places. And I do a lot of jobs where every now and again we'll run out of the lithiums, and we'll have to go with some kind of alternate battery, and double A's and 9 volts you can get anywhere in the world. Now
Yep.
you're not going to get the best ones. You may end up with a Rayovac that lasts
Right.
20 minutes in anything.
But at least it's something.
But 123 batteries were just not practical.
I guess they're more practical in Europe, but I got them because at the time that was the smallest transmitter. But
Right.
that was the only thing on this job that, like, if I had all double A's, it would have been a lot easier because, man, they would have gone for 10 hours. That means that they would have been able to have been turned on, put in the helmets. They could go all the way to lunch. Then when they come down to eat, when we eat, I could change the batteries,
out.
make sure everything's jammed. So what I ended up having to do is I did have to have the Zaxnet amplifier antenna from up there. And
To
so
keep
when
everything synced together, right?
exactly,
Okay.
because the problem was is that as soon as the batteries die in those, when you replace it, if it's not receiving that
It
signal,
starts at 0.
it either starts at 0 or it starts at the time code of the very last segment that was recorded. So
The
like if
very
it
last
was
header file.
exactly, so it goes,
File
oh, this
header.
was the last time code number, and it just starts in succession. So that was the worry that I always had was my backups on those cards, because sometimes I was having hits and stuff like that where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to pull the audio off of those
Sure,
cards.
sure. It
I
makes a
was
lot more work, though.
oh, it totally
Unfortunately, the
does.
Zaxcom, the benefit is rad, but the con of that is you still have more work to do at the end
Absolutely.
of your day to make sure that this stuff that came ISO off of every transmitter
Right.
is still in sync with all your stuff. And if it's not, then you have to make notes on it,
Exactly.
figure out an offset, hopefully, if you can, as
Yep.
best you can. Obviously, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that in the field.
Exactly.
Post, you can never make post completely happy, no matter how well you do. The only thing you can do is hopefully there's no complaints from post.
Mm-hmm.
Then that means you did an A plus 5-star. You get a gold star job.
Yeah, yeah. When there's no news, there's good news.
Right.
And when there's news, it's usually
definitely
bad
like
news.
Gary Gnu from the Great
God.
Space Coaster.
You know what? There's so much about this show that's coming back. Here's the next thing that happened to me, and
Okay.
I want to know if you had the same situation
Sure.
actually. So, and by the way, we just want to shout out to everybody. Crew Chamberlain, Case and Crew are repairing gear as they watch in Fullerton. So, what's up, guys?
Oh,
How you
hey.
doing? Willis Abuto, cheers to all the rebels out there. Absolutely. I am so not cool enough to be a rebel, but I will continue drinking my Tennessee whiskey.
We're rebelling right now.
Cheers.
We're raging against the internet right now.
Mm-hmm.
The sound internet.
So here we are. We're on day 1 of traveling, okay? And we get in the airplane. We get down. Now we're in the rental vehicle, and we're starting our 4-hour drive. And so I'm sitting next to, Justin.
Justin, yeah.
And I've never met him before,
Yeah.
but, I've got you in mind, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that Jack looks like a freaking rose in this. I'm going to just talk to him. I'm going to make sure that he knows about me, about my entire protocol of what I'm doing. Just, get to know him a little
Yeah.
bit. I got time to kill. I'm going to be with this guy for a month. I better become friends now type of deal. So I'm explaining to him all the Zaxcom stuff because he was really interested, and he was also nervous because of the change. He was like,
Right,
"Oh God,
right.
everything's different. Is this going to even work, or is this a big nightmare?" And he doesn't have his guy.
Right.
So I was trying to just ease his mind. And so, I talked to him about all the ERXs and how we're putting, how the ERXs do time code on the left and audio on the right, or you can switch it, but it does both.
Yeah.
I was telling him about that, where at the time those cameras didn't have a timecode input, so we were putting timecode on an audible track,
Right.
on track 1, and then we were having their shotgun mics plugged into input 2. That way they could reference our audio and sync it if they need to. But, I'm explaining him this whole ordeal, and he was like, man, could you do me a favor? Could you email this to my editor just to make sure that he's on board? I'm like, you know what? I got 4 hours to kill. Absolutely. I'll make an email. So I sat there in the car, and I wrote like an email. It must have taken me an hour and a half.
Did
I'm
you illustrate a flow chart as well?
Pretty much,
Because, I mean,
man.
you almost have to, because if you put it all in text, it just looks like gobbledygook at some point, even to me.
Absolutely.
And I understand it, but it's like, some of us end up with these run-on sentences and then this and that and that and this, and it's like, no. Just do a flow chart.
You know what? I did my best to like break it down and be like, look, this is going into here. Like when you get the cameras, it's going to be time code on the left and audio from their shotgun on their right, and this is this and this is that. And I did my best to break it down as best as I could. Due diligence, whatever you want to call it, right? So cut to, we finally get there. Check my phone. Don't have an email yet. Next day, 2-3 days. After about a week, I haven't gotten an email back from the editor, even just to say, hey, thanks for the email. What's up? I honestly forgot, Cut to maybe 4 weeks into the show. We have like maybe 3 or 4 days left on this shoot. And they've been sending stuff like at least 2 to 3 times a week overnight to, to LA to get it worked on, or, to have this stuff worked on.
Right.
And gosh, I remember too. We were in this horrible hotel, so I ended up buying a tent on Amazon. So did
wow.
the other sound guy, and we just camped outside for an entire month. It was incredible.
Did you have the same guy that I had when
Yes,
I was
Brock.
Brock?
Brock, yeah.
Brock.
What's up, Brock?
Turner? Brock.
It's Brock Turner, I think. I can't remember the last
That's
name.
not a
but Brock.
Simpsons character, is it? Brock Turner. I think that's a Simpsons character. Brock. I'm Brock Turner.
I'll have to look it up. I can't remember, but he was
Brock
one
was
of
rad.
the most incredible guys. So
Super
super chill. Made my life easy because I was also a little bit like that. Had been the first time I had ever done a sound supervisor job, so I was a little nervous. And he was like, "Dude, you're killing it. You're doing great." So, total respect to him. But here it is 4 days before the shoot ends, right? And I mean, we've been doing 6-day weeks. Everything's crazy. And all of a sudden, I got somebody like hitting the felt on my tent, and it's Justin going, "You fucked me. I can't believe I all my nightmares came true. You fucked me, man." And I'm like, whoa, 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 what's going on? Everything. He's like, "I just talked to my editor, and he's telling me that all he hears is buzz and ground buzz on every single camera and everything." And I'm like,
That's time code.
okay,
That's time
thank you.
It's
Like
like-
if this was a game show, you would win a brand new car. Do you hear that? That's time code,
time code.
people. So here
Some
it is.
editors have never actually heard what time code
They've
sounds
never
like in an
heard
audio
it.
channel.
It's an LTC.
And some people don't
square
know how
wave.
to rectify that in
Right.
an NLE.
But what he did was completely throw me under the bus. He calls up
what they do.
him and he says, "This guy doesn't know what the F he's doing and everything's ruined, dude.
Well,
You're
it took
screwed."
him 4 weeks to figure
4 weeks.
that idea, which is not true, out, and then finally present it to
Exactly.
Justin.
So I was basically in like, okay, I need to calm this guy down. I need to figure out how to like, ease his mind or whatever. So I ended up saying, okay, do me a favor. I need to hear exactly what he's talking about. You tell him to find any clip that we've shot over the past 4 weeks, and I want you to send it over. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to analyze it, let you know what you're hearing, and the next thing is I'm going to sync my audio
To that.
You don't even have to tell me what file. Send a random file, and I'll sync it. So they sent a file over, and I said, "Justin, $100 says that this isn't a problem with me, and this is a guy that didn't read the email that I sent 4
Right.
weeks ago like you asked." And I said, "This is going to sound like this, just like you said." And I played it for him. And then I said, "Okay, listen." And I like basically pulled my audio hard drive into the room, connected it, automatically synced it up using Avid. I think we had Avid at the time.
No Media Composer.
No, it was Final Cut Pro X, but
Oh,
it was
okay.
easy enough that it was just like, there it was, and I synced it up, and I hit play, and I said, "Are you okay now? Because I want to let you know that, trust me, Jack would not have given you a dummy.
I wouldn't
I'm
have.
here for you. Everything's
I knew
fine."
what that job needed, and I knew
Yeah.
if it wasn't me, it was going to be a guy like you who knew exactly how to deal with that kind of thing.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, I ended up turning around, and I said, "And by the way, I really think you need to think about getting another editor for this because this is a huge rookie mistake. And honestly, if I was there, I would say something to his face and say, stop throwing people under the bus when it's you that don't understand what you're doing. Because I'm an audio engineer, and I just did your job for you."
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was the story that happened. So at that point, Justin was like, "Thank God." He was like, "I'm so sorry." And I went back to my tent, and then you hear just screaming on the phone. And I was like, you know what? I hate to say it, though. Like you said earlier, karma comes around.
Well,
You know?
that's the thing, and I've run into this quite often where, and you get an overzealous AE, and they group things. So they go and they bring all of the drives in and they group everything, and this and that, and like say this AE's like, he'll send out an email and he'll put you on blast to just about everybody from the travel coordinator to the front office freaking receptionist. Like, why are all these people on this email? We could have spoken between ourselves.
Yeah, why don't you
And
just
we
send a
could've-
confident email and say, "Hey, dude, you know what?
Hey, I'm having some problems with this.
Yeah, just
can
curious.
we sort this out?
Yeah, before we raise any flags and
Before
make
you
either
make
of
the
us look
office
weird."
blow up and everybody's head explode and hair
Yeah, people
on fire.
coming in the rooms. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's on fire? It's like, calm
No, dude.
down.
You
It's
didn't have to
time
pull the
code.
fire alarm,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
You could have just called me.
Fucking crying wolf.
Right.
Just chill out.
And so you get an overzealous AE, and then he's like complaining about some B-roll shot on a GoPro that wasn't freaking time coded or slated. It's like,
There's no time code on this GoPro shot. There didn't need to be. Calm down.
it's a B-roll shot. There's nobody. That fish ain't talking.
Exactly.
And there's no nat sound to go with it because it's underwater. And I'm sorry, but I'm one guy on a multi-camera shoot, and I'm not going to go put a 57 in a condom to go get this fish going glub glub when you're not even going to use the audio. Should I even supply it?
There's
for
a
you?
Finding Nemo soundtrack somewhere out there. You can get a
True
couple
story.
blubs from there.
Story. So there's
Right.
a lot of things to navigate in this profession within the industry, and I hope a lot of you guys have done it with sometimes more style and grace than myself. I'm a little rough around the edges. I did not even groom my beard for this today, unfortunately.
It's all good.
I wanted to, but instead I drank a 6-pack of Guinness last night.
Hey, that helps. You know,
And,
you're very smooth
slept
today.
well,
You know,
I
you
think.
did trip a little bit more often than when you were walking in the room, though. You know, it
That's
happens.
just my gangster limp.
Your swagger.
No. Seriously, there's a lot of things in this industry that are very difficult, and you keep running into it, and it's very hard to swallow over time and time again. And I feel like you're always kind of trying to help the guy that you're sending your materials to. Sometimes they can turn on you.
Yeah, they
like
totally
that.
can.
When they could have just sent you a professional email saying, "Hey, I'm having these problems," and before everything goes ballistic, why don't we have a discussion and maybe we can sort this out? Maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
So, do you email your editors all the time? Do you do your due diligence? Like, I understand if you're working on a 10-month job, you're gonna look them out. You're gonna suss them out, or at least see what they're doing with it. But if you're working on like a couple day play job here or there, are you going forth and finding that information, saying, "Hey, who's editing this? Who's gonna get my stuff?"
Not on a day play job. No, not at all.
Okay.
Not on a day. When I do a day play job, which is honestly very rare. I don't. I would love to work with other sound people on if you need a guy who you can drink at the bar with afterwards. That's me.
Right? There you go.
I get good sound.
There you go.
I get good
I'm
sound.
gonna have to get more Jack after this
But,
Mantis discussion. Shit.
I'm a pretty even keel guy. I think I like to make people laugh, and I like that. And I like to enjoy my job because if you enjoy it, then it seems less painful even at the hard times.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, I've worked on a lot of shows that have been just incredible families. I'm leaving my family to go work with my family like
Right,
that.
right,
And then
right.
I've worked on some where I would just rather. Well, honestly, I've stopped working. They're just being like, you know what? I don't enjoy working with you. I don't like our energy.
Feel the odd man out kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Vibe
You know, like I
sometimes.
feel like the only time they want to talk to me is when they want to yell at me. So
Right.
you can yell at someone else type of
Right,
deal. So
right.
I've definitely had a handful of mixers like that in my career that I've worked with that, I'll just stay clear of now. But yeah, it just depends on who you're working with.
Yeah, I like the good energy. I don't like working
Absolutely.
on like housewives kind of shows where all those women are screaming at each other because it
Mm-hmm.
invades your soul.
Yeah.
It invades your soul, and
You're talking about the reality show though,
The
not
reality-
the Desperate Housewives, because the Desperate Housewives,
no,
I'll be
Desperate
honest,
Housewives. God, those
that
women
was
are
the shit.
so
They were awesome.
very lovely to look at.
Yeah, lovely looking, lovely to work with. Actually,
but that's scripted too.
Yes, that's
you have a
different.
different level of professional that you're working with at that point.
that's for sure.
So, but no, I mean the reality stuff. I did a show one time that was promo girls. It was like a promo girls thing. So it's like if you go to the bar, I guess I'm looking over here. If you go to the bar and there's some girl who's coming around and they're trying to sell you some liqueur or liquor that has some wackadoodle name and it's got some funky like glass mason jar or something, like somebody just brought you some West Virginia moonshine, but
foo-foo drink.
and even like a more weird glass, and it's got weird flavors. And so this promo girl, we did a show called Promo Girls, and it's about these girls all living in the same house. Like, why would they even live in the same house? First of all, I don't know, but they did for the sake of this show, and they all felt very enabled to be not nice to each other. I don't look, my old man growing up, my old man's mantra to my brother and my sister and I was, "Be nice, be nice." You know,
That's it.
and it was more like, "Hey, be nice," is coming out of my father's mouth. And I love my father very dearly, and he's a very sweet man. And really, that's kind of a mantra to life: is be nice, just be nice. You know, obviously, at some point, you have to not be nice, depending on the situation. Try to be as nice as not nice can get you,
I
I
give
guess.
respect to people, uh, just undying respect to people until they disrespect me.
Right.
And then at that point, I'm done.
Hmm.
And then I just literally don't care because there's no reason to disrespect me when I care and love you.
Right.
And that's honestly how I try to live my life with everyone. That's why I do a lot of these discussions too, is because I just want to
Excuse
find a
me.
way to get better information and better talks. Some people that aren't living in the heart of LA don't have the ability to go out to lunch with 10 sound mixers and just shoot the shit for 20 minutes and
I
vent
would
about
love that. I
things,
would
right?
invite me to that next lunch because
Totally.
I honestly get these jobs where I'm like the only sound guy, and we're between 2 to 8 cameras. Like, I was one sound guy. They don't put it in the budget.
Yeah,
These shows try to do with as little sound personnel as possible, and it's very challenging. It's made me really come up with some interesting solutions or very simple solutions to what would normally be very difficult problems. But
you brought up an
I
interesting
would
thing
love
though.
to work with multiple sound mixers on shows
Exactly.
more often, and I got a chance to do Naked and Afraid XL last year in September through middle of November, and I got to work with 4 other really fantastic sound guys
Awesome. Who?
and learn a few tricks. Jonathan Lalouse,
Awesome.
you want to shout out to John
Shout out to
Lalouse?
Jonathan Lalou.
Jonathan Lalouse was the sound soup. Really enjoying that. I'm going back this year with him. Thankfully, I really had a great time. We had a South African, this guy Leon, really, really astute guy, and man, that guy carries way more gear on his back, supplemental spares and stuff. I'm like, man, I would leave half that in a case somewhere at Mini Bush or something. But really great guy, Leon. Eric Melman, Melman?
I don't know him.
Melman, really, really funny guy, really great guy.
Awesome. Are they local or is he local?
Melman's an LA guy.
Okay,
Melman's an
cool.
LA guy. Rick Garza, shout
Rick.
out to my team Brown on Naked and Afraid regular. Uh, you boys know who you are, Team Brown. Rick Garza, and anyone that knows my homeboy Francisco Cortez.
There you go.
I love all you guys. I really enjoy your company and everything that you bring to my life.
Maybe we can have a clothed and afraid episode
No,
where
well,
you guys just come in
know
and
that's the
talk.
one thing I work on Naked and Afraid, and a lot of people go, are you naked too? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Naked boom guy. No, I'm not.
What is wrong with you? No, why would I be naked? I'm not part of the show.
Exactly.
No. And then they go, is it? And the second question is like, is it legit? Like, are they really out there doing it? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're really out there doing it,
Yeah.
and it still blows my mind away.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm still uncomfortable. I'm there.
I'm not uncomfortable with it anymore. I probably pay more attention to story than a lot of maybe sound guys are just, they're just like, I just want to do a good job for my job. At this point, I think I would be remiss if I said I just got it on autopilot to do my job because you can't really ever do that.
Yeah,
However,
I get what you're saying. Like it is, but it isn't. You're running the ship. It would go down if you weren't there running it.
well,
But you've got it. You're a professional. You're a consummate professional. You've been doing this long enough that it almost runs itself.
I
As second
really
nature.
enjoy story though. I
Yeah.
really enjoy story, and I like connecting dots from here to here where, maybe the producer is doing this and that, and I'm looking at this overreaching arc from, especially on a show like that. These people come out here and they're doing this for a reason, and I look at this like, are they going to have, an interpersonal change in their life through this experience?
Right.
Because it is a very real and it is a very life-changing experience for those people.
I bet.
And I really enjoy seeing people. Excuse me. When you work in reality, or docu-reality, or however you want to kind of define it. When you see people who come into the situation, they've been shat on, or they've had a rough life, or they haven't, but they still have like some kind of change in their life that needs to happen. I like seeing that in people. I like seeing people go through a positive change in their life, and a lot of times it happens in that setting on that show, and that's the one thing that I really do enjoy about it, is seeing people grow. I feel like it helps me grow. You
Hmm.
know, so it's nice. It's nice, but it's a very real show. It's very legit. They're really out there doing it. They do not go to hotel rooms at night. That we do not set up tents for them. We don't do anything for them. They are very much out there surviving, naked and afraid.
Just doing their thing.
Yeah.
Just doing their thing.
Oh,
Hmm.
story.
Yeah. And I have a question when you're done.
Have you ever had a flood on one of your shoots?
Yes, actually, I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge flood, but it was when I was working on Desperate Housewives. We were shooting on stage 5, and it was like 2 or 3 days before we left for Christmas break.
I would have boomed for you for that.
I wasn't mixing shit. I was the sound utility. I would have been honored to have you as a boom, but shit,
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was low man at that point. I still am.
No, this season. I like that show. I mean, it's a story.
Great show.
It's a scripted story, and it's
Two
interesting.
booms
Anyway,
for 8 years,
I'm sorry
man.
to
It's crazy.
inter-
No, but there was
interrupt you.
basically like a monsoon outside. It was
Oh
crazy.
wow.
And water just started coming under the stage doors. And it got to the point where, the distro boxes? Like, what are they, about
Yeah.
that tall?
Little lunch boxes. Yeah.
The water was this high on it when they said, you know what, we're wrapped. Like, everybody just leave the stage because we can't promise that you're not going to get electrocuted. They had to shut the breakers down because the water was flowing into the electrical surge
Interesting.
strips and stuff. It was insane. But that's it for me. So I guess flood of this much water. What about you? Huh.
How tall is your ceiling?
I guess this is what, 8, 10 feet, maybe 8 feet, right?
Maybe 2.5 times that.
Oh my goodness. What?
Yeah.
What?
Watch the new season of Naked and Afraid. To see the differential in water in most places in the world that you would never have thought would happen.
Like how the water comes up that quickly or something?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Crazy.
This season's gonna probably be the best season yet because last season we had a lot of people that didn't make it. They didn't make it the full 21 on Naked and Afraid regular. This season is going to be really good, and I can't talk too much about. Obviously, I've signed NDAs, and a lot of things are what do they call that when it's like all your little tech secrets and how we do the show. What is it?
I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
What is it that they call it? It's
Like a non-disclosure agreement?
yeah, but it's like privileged information on how we make the show, as far as like cameras and audio and how we do. All
Share
those
this and we
things.
kill you.
Yeah, yes.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's a pretty simple setup, but we do some other things that to be able to capture how things happen while we're not there.
Yeah.
At night, it's
Right.
at night we leave them there.
Yeah.
We leave them there, and they're there. We have IR cameras set up.
Are you just using shotguns on the camera at that point because they're naked? I mean, let's
We-
ask the question
we
people
put
are
lots
asking.
of plant mics. We put lots of plant mics in the area, usually in their shelter and somewhere to get some nat sound in case something comes through their area,
Right.
which happens quite often.
Right,
You know,
right.
Some kind of animal, and they can't see it, so they don't. They're going just off of their ears alone. And most people, when they get in that situation, what sounds like this big in our ear during the day sounds this big
Yeah, exactly.
at night.
Yeah, for sure. For
So
sure.
the senses are heightened.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So what can you say about working on a show like that? This isn't a normal show where you're just following around Bob with clothes on as he's
It's
going
not
to work.
There's nothing normal about this show.
So when you're working on a
Trade
show,
secrets. That was what I was looking
Trade
for.
secrets,
Trade
that's-
secrets.
gotcha.
That's part of the NDA on that.
copy that. I guess what I would want to try to get out for people is that, you know what, like, you don't want to show up for day one on Naked and Afraid and be the guy that everybody, like, starts looking at that, God, you're unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like you're acting like a rookie. This isn't a professional behavior. You're not behaving like a professional. What can you say, working on shows of this caliber, of this nature, uh, to make sure that you're staying a consummate professional?
Ask all the questions you can in the interview.
Hmm.
In the interview, because that show is not for everybody in a crew setting.
Right.
You have to kind of lower your expectations of where you're going to stay at night. Where you're going to sleep at night.
Yeah, you
What
can't.
kind of cuisine you're going to be eating every day.
You're not going to be in the Bellagio on a show like that.
It's true story. There's no Vegas where we go.
Yeah.
So there's obviously no Bellagio.
Yeah.
But it's with anything. You make it an adventure for yourself. And what you do is you ask as many questions before you get on set. And once you get on set, you shut your mouth and you watch and you listen. You use all of your senses. You try to stay on point and in front of everything. And if there's a problem, you let your producer know. You talk to your camera guy. And typically, the camera guys on that are very audio friendly. They understand that it's not always the easiest thing. You don't really do a lot of booming on that show.
Hmm.
A lot of it's very heavy handed on the wireless, and it has to be because of the nature of it. And you're moving through the jungle or whatever your terrain or wilderness is that you're in. And so you move through that, and you just mix with your wireless. And to me, I've gotten to a point where I've gotten the gain staging just right to where we use electros, we use 411s on there, and I get pretty decent range pretty much wherever we go.
Hmm.
A lot of people, like Zaxcom, when Zaxcom came out, they were like, oh, electro, they've got companding. Like, what's wrong with that, really? It works for a lot of situations, Actually, a lot of these situations where I have to set up just a wireless or two wireless to camera, straight to camera, not even to me, that companding is actually very valuable in that situation, because you can go like from where you were with a high dynamic range. It hits that limiter in the transmitter, and it squashes it, and it needs to,
Yep.
because you can't have it clip into you. And so when you get on these situations like, say, Naked and Afraid, and I'm mixing, I'm not over mixing. I'm not doing a lot of like this and that. Like, people think it's like a lot of this and that.
If
No,
you're
really just
overcompensating your mix, you're screwing your mix up.
you're screwing your mix up, because then you're destroying the dynamic range. What you want is a dynamic range where if they scream as loud as they can, you're just under zero.
Yeah.
You're just under zero.
Yeah.
And if they're talking at normal level, they're somewhere around -20.
Yep. Exactly.
And if they're whispering, it's just a little bit lower.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Minus 25, minus 30
You've got
lowest.
that much dynamic range from zero in the digital world, or +20 if you're on a Series 6 recorder from Sound
You
Devices.
don't have to have
I don't know
everything
why they do
slam
that.
into -2.
No,
Like
no,
this. Your
no.
waveforms don't have to look like this on your LEDs. Like just
No,
bah!
you want that dynamic range.
Yes.
You don't want to look like you just put a radio
Exactly.
limiter on a music mix
Yeah,
where everything is
exactly. Don't
just
steamroll
-1.
things.
Yeah,
For
let it-
sure.
you got to let it breathe.
For sure.
You gotta
Breathing
let
it.
breathe.
Yep.
And if they're whispering, it should sound like they're whispering.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're whispering and the person, and they feel like, oh, the viewer can't understand what they're saying, yeah, they'll put
Yeah, they'll throw a
text
couple
underneath.
texts to help you.
And I hate that.
And
I
you know
don't-
that you can't give them the whisper talk. Hi, the thespian. You know,
yeah, no.
put air through your lungs.
No, because then they
You can
freaking sound
whisper
like James T.
loudly.
Kirk from Star Trek. You know,
Yeah.
like that's highly unnecessary, and then it takes you out of it. And the biggest thing with anything is you're trying to stay in that moment. You're trying to stay in that moment, and you don't want to mess up your people and make them overly thinking what they're doing. They need to be doing what they're doing naturally as possible.
Absolutely. You know what? I got another question. I'm going to segue for a minute.
Go ahead.
A good friend of mine, George, he has a question. He says, Thomas, I need some advice. How do you deal with a diva who continues to destroy my lavs one by one? She refuses to wear my hypoallergenic Invisilavs, and she keeps removing an attached transmitter and puts it somewhere else when it's time to shoot. Then when I catch her doing it and hold it. And then I catch her doing it, and she's holding it by the cable instead of by the pack. I don't want to walk, but I need to know how to properly present my problem to the powers at B without getting myself fired. She's a real witch.
First thing you
Actor
do is you
woes.
charge production for broken lavs.
Yep. Yeah, I pretty much kind of Prickers, do you mind tapping me off too, boss?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I pretty much told him the same thing. In fact, I'll read what I texted him. I said, "Here's my advice for today, and then I can call you in a little bit." I said, "Breathe. That's the first thing when you're on set. Just breathe. You need a teacup. Think clearly under pressure. Teacup it. When something like that happens, don't be the one going." Damn it! On set, we've all done it, and what happens is everybody looks at you and goes, "Oh God,
That guy's unstable.
this guy's unstable. He's unprofessional. We don't want to work with him." So just breathe, and then if she moves it and it breaks, tell production. Put it on the P&L sheet. Don't take so much passion over this. It's just gear. If they break, they have to buy it.
It's gear. It's
gear.
And I know that you've worked hard for that.
Mhm.
I know that you've worked hard for that gear. If you're supplying it to, is this mine? Is this yours?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. It
can't
is what it is.
I know you've worked hard for that gear, and that hurts. I understand that. However, that can always be replaced. The only thing you should ever freak out about and get loud about, in my book, is if someone is being almost to the point of lethally unsafe on set, and that's when you raise a big red flag.
Can you give me an example of that? I know that's hard. I'm putting you on the spot, but
No, it's fine, and I have examples for this, and I don't want it to be laborious or overly done. I did a show called Weaponizers for Discovery Channel.
sounds like a red flag already.
Well, I mean, you got to keep things sketchy.
Yeah.
When you're trying to create new content for people to the wow factor. I think I think at some point we're about done with the wow factor in television because we've
seen
wowed
it all.
everything at
We've
this point.
seen everything.
I mean, we've had David Copperfield get to make the Statue of Liberty disappear. So, man, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's done. What else?
Exactly.
But I did this show called Weaponizers, and it was a really rad show. And they pitched it to me, and I was like, I want to do this. This is freaking amazing. This sounds pretty crazy, obviously. And I can shake off safety to a certain amount of, because I think like we're overly safe at some point. There's OSHA and they have all these things. But so it was a discovery show. And two teams of two guys come in. They build cars. They get them running, old cars. They roboticize them.
Wow.
So that they can wirelessly control them in the field with no one inside. And then they put military-grade weapons around them. We did 3 episodes. It was very expensive. It took a long time to make. But it was cool. However, we were shooting on a property in Nevada. Because Nevada obviously has way less gun laws than we do in California here. And, but this was a place that was an active shooting range as well. So we had lots of stuff flying over the berms that kind of separate all the areas that we were operating in. We had our set blow up on us one day.
Jesus.
Taking too long, and we're using real explosives and real live rounds, and things get dangerous sometimes.
Now, did you have the safety people on set? What was the story with that?
We had an EOD team, an explosions on demand team. We had an AD who's a good friend of mine who I later ended up chewing out with all of the executives and everything. And it wasn't my best moment, but it was a safety thing.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing that we always need to remember is we're making television.
You hear that, everybody? Because I was going to say
We're
pretty
making
much the same
television.
thing. We're making movies. It's the entertainment industry. No one should ever die unless if it's when they yell action and cut and it's fake.
Hashtag Sarah should still be here.
Yes, thank you.
We're
I was
not
gonna say
saving
that.
lives. We're making television. Now, if at some point and I'm filming a show and the person I'm filming is curing cancer, rad.
Yeah.
because that's what you know that's what really matters.
Yeah.
We're making television though, people. We're not
Uh,
saving lives. Hopefully, if you're in the right show, maybe you're changing lives for the better, and that'll be a
sure.
good thing.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
However, we're not saving lives,
Uh,
and I feel like sometimes that it's a professional business. It's a professional business, but
it's run by fear.
it is.
It's run by fear, and it's run by people that just, they, it's funny. I noticed that in my 20s, I was so much about like, even my parents, yeah, but I'm too busy right now. I can't talk to you guys. I'll talk to you later. I'm at work. It was like, it was all about the job, the job, the job. I got to make myself, let this industry use me. And now that I'm like older and I have
Oh,
kids,
it'll
I'm just
use you.
like,
It will
and
use
it'll
you.
chew you up, spit you out, and throw you into the trash. And you have to know that about this industry so you can play the game better. Because if you don't play the game better, you're just going to destroy yourself before you turn 40, you know?
I would rather lose any job than lose a coworker's life
That, yeah.
on any job,
Amen.
and I will go straight up the chain to anyone. And I worked with a lot of great people on that show, and I don't want to kind of taint it like it was a thing, but there was a safety issue. There was a great number of safety issues, and the DP, a friend of mine, and I'll keep the names out.
Yeah, I might as well.
The DP said, "Jack, what are you gonna do?" Because he knew I was fuming. I was just like, "This is not why we're here. It doesn't have to even be anywhere near this."
Yeah.
And I was
You
fuming.
don't have to take risks to hit the record button.
No,
Never.
no. Well,
Never.
there's always risks with anything. However, when there's risks that can be easily mitigated,
Right.
easily mitigated.
Right.
Those things need to happen and be mitigated so that we can continue on with a professional.
I mean, should we?
You always have to have respect for whatever you're working around and the things that are going on around you. However, when multiple risks can be mitigated easily with coordination, safety protocols, and those kind of things, that's what needs to happen. And unfortunately, like, you don't have the same thing in these kind of docu-reality shows as you do on, like, say, a union film set. And sometimes those things fall by the wayside on a union film set too. And
Yeah, they
it
do.
depends on who speaks up and who says, "Hey, this ain't cool." And I got a number to whatever shop steward that will come
Yep. And
sit
be
down
by
and
my
shut
side.
shut down your day
Exactly.
and rectify this
And it doesn't
before
have
we
to be
continue.
the key of a department to do
It
that.
shouldn't need
It
to
doesn't
be.
have to be.
It shouldn't
Just
need to be.
and unfortunately, there are times where when there are safety things on set, you'll see everybody look at them and then play that game with them to go, oh, shut up, everything's fine. And then they fear them into succumbing to that
Right.
fear.
It happens.
And,
It happens a
and
lot.
It shouldn't, bringing up the Sarah Jones situation again, honestly, that's something that I really hold dear to my heart, because the thing that really bothers me is that if we're working anywhere, like at an airline station or near a street, we have to have a police officer. We have to have a representative of the airline. They didn't have a representative of the train station there, didn't they?
The thing is all, and I don't want to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
All those rail lines are controlled by certain companies, and they don't all talk together, but they do allow them to kind of operate on their lines outside of their company and that kind of stuff. And it was a very unfortunate accident, and that
Yeah.
should not have happened.
Should have never happened.
The AD and the coordinator and the production manager, between all those people, they should have had that shut down. They should have had that wherever the turnoffs for both of those. They should have coordinated with the railroad lines to be operating on there. Because if they had a permit to operate in the area, that's fine. There's the area. Railroad is a whole different thing
totally
from
different
getting
thing.
a permit to operate near the railroad.
Yep.
On the railroad is different, and I know this. My cousin was killed by a train
Jesus.
at 17 years old. Just crossing the tracks, and it takes nothing for a train to snatch you up like that.
It's 1 second.
and your life is over.
You're done.
Because even at night, during the day, they're traveling way faster than you can even perceive them.
Yep. Yeah. It's the force. It's the force and the speed. You cannot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
No, that's all right, man. That's
rough.
Right. It's fine. It's
Wow.
fine. It's part of life, and that's what happened.
Yep. That's why we have to
trains
respect
will snatch
life.
you up. Please,
you know?
please act very responsible around trains.
Just on
they
set.
they can't stop.
Just on set. You know what? If you notice something, if there's something in the 4-foot perimeter around the stage, just tell somebody about it. You know what? There are rules for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's not to prohibit us from doing anything. It's just to keep people safe, and that's what
Yeah.
we have to do.
Don't let anyone make you feel less than because you brought up a something that bothered you on a safety
Yep,
issue.
absolutely. Let's see what people are saying here. Crew Chamberlain says, love to have money for every call, email from a freaked out assistant editor from Post. This
Right.
is super common.
Yeah.
Glad you are all covering this, even though Post probably won't watch this. Well, that's the goal. Share this to a Post guy that you know and share the word with them because we need to get this information out.
Right.
That's not what Video Mantis is about. Yes, it's about sound guys hanging out and having fun and communally learning together.
We
But
have to interface with these other people,
have
and that's
to.
part of the job. And
Synergy.
and if you can do it in a way that you don't blow your top or make yourself look unprofessional to whoever that
Right. Because that's the problem. When you blow your top, you become the bad guy.
Right,
You know, that's the problem is that they look and they go, well, I didn't know this was a problem, but this guy's a dick.
Right.
You know? So then you need to, like, turn everything around, and you're only as good as your last day, and just...
Don't be afraid to be a dick if there's a safety issue.
Yes, that's the only time that you should, really, really, really be
Even
a
if it's
dick and
not your
stand up for
department?
yourself. Yeah.
Even if it's not your department. If you see something and, like art department's doing something that they don't really want to be doing, but people get asked to do a lot of things on these shoots that they would go, well, if I had this, I could do that the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a friend that my friend Pat gave me this response to a lot of things that producers or people in this industry ask you. It's like, hey, can you do it this way? And it's like, well, I can do it the right way, or I can do it any fucked up way you want me to do it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So just remember, if you feel unsafe about something, don't be afraid to say something to someone about it.
Yep.
Don't be fear-mongered into thinking that you're less than because, and I do crazy stuff. Okay, I've done things where people were like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." I got kids now, so I'm a little more.
Yep.
I'm a little more.
You know what the craziest thing I've ever done is I had somebody, please don't do this, people. I had them ratchet strap me to the side of a van. On the side of it.
Pictures or it didn't really happen. Fake news.
Ask Lee Asher. Maybe there's one. I bet you there's one.
I gotta see
But I'm
pictures
ratcheted
of this.
on the side with my elbows on the top of the van with it basically like 10, 12 feet over. And it's just somebody running alongside the van. But they were shooting from inside with the van open. And they needed me over the top. So I had my feet on the inside, but I was outside. And they had me ratcheted in. But I was booming over the top of the car.
I gotta see pictures
So
of that.
stupid.
I'm gonna
Don't
make a
do
meme out of that.
Yeah, it needs to be
It's
a
gonna
meme.
be freaking amazing. It's gonna be amazing. I'll send it to you first before I send it worldwide.
It's not my greatest moment, and I thought I was so cool. Oh, man, I was the coolest guy on set, and they're all like, look at this rookie, we got him.
You were like grandma's boy, like, how can you still see me?
Does this sound good like this? I can't move, but...
Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
That's fantastic. I
Crazy.
really want to see it. I'm probably going to just, I need pictures of
We'll
that.
find it. I promise you
That's
it
so
happened.
great.
Ugh.
It sounds fantastic.
Jack, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate you joining
Thank you
us.
for having
And
me.
thank you, everyone at home. Please remember, stay tuned for more Mantis discussions Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
guys.
Jack,
Have a good night.
have a good one, brother.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.